Well, in New Mexico, I'm sure you're aware, we have the first highest teen pregnancy rate in the country, and we have the second highest teen birth rate.
I feel like big things that we've noticed in doing this work for the past 7 years is that really a lot of the women's stories are the same. There's crisis, there's trouble, and then there's the baby. The majority of teen pregnancies are conceived by young women that are in their 18 or 19 years old. So I think this sort of fear-based approach around how we look at teen pregnancy, when really we're sending a mixed message, right? If we're telling young people you're an adult at 18, but you're not an adult enough to have a child, and we're not going to trust you with that responsibility. There's a lot going on. I had just graduated high school. I was in my first year of college, and my father was terminally ill. And me and my sisters and my mom had been caring for him really to his death at that point. And he actually passed while I was pregnant.
I mean, it wasn't a really healthy relationship. There wasn't no violence. We weren't physically abusive, but definitely, arguments and, financial problems were a big issue.
Well, actually, I was considering abortion, and at one point, my mom, just how moms are, she suspected, and I was at my friend worked at this restaurant, and I was there with her, and my mom drove up, and my mom came in, and she says, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like, "Yes," and she says, "I'll help you as long as you stay in school, but if you're not in school, I'm not going to help you."
I sat and talked with my mother and told her about it. And as well as we went and talked with her parents weren't too happy with it, and they actually kicked her out of her house, so she ended up having to live with me.
When I saw how people treated me, and that shame that my mom carried around having to explain that I was pregnant, and I think that was really disheartening for me.
Definitely, the one thing that did help me was an uncle who did the same thing. Was a father at a young age, and was a single father who raised 2 young boys by himself. So that's kind of where I got a lot of my learning from. So I would have to say that was the biggest thing, and that would help me if I had that in those times. Would have made it much more easier to understand that it's not so scary, and it's not the end of the world, and that you can still have a really great life with your child and yourself.
My mom never talked to me about sex. And as much as I know, my mom was a teen mom. She had my oldest sister when she was 16. Now I tell my son, if there's I want you to be able to talk to me about anything and know that I won't judge you, and that I'm going to give you the best information, and I'm not going to freak out on you. But I know there's things you're not going to want to talk to me about. So these are the 5 people that I trust, that please go to them. Don't just go to your peers. Don't enter into something unless you feel like you fully have made this choice for yourself. Don't put yourself in a situation where you have to make decisions that are going to be hard, that you haven't already determined are good for you.
I think a lot of times we just make decisions on the spur of the moment. Like, oh yeah, I'll deal with that later. Well, dealing with a child at the age 14 is a whole different level, so understanding that consequence.
But if we can get young people just to do that one thing, stop and think about it, what are the implications, and then seek out someone you trust to process that decision with, just so that you're making the best decision for you and for your future, because it will definitely impact generations to come.